guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tegan, and as by the title, I am going to talk about a series that I read when I was 13 or 12. And that's Twilight and then also New Moon. And as you can tell from the title, it's not exactly the best. Okay, to start off, I loved this series when I was younger. And I read all the books, I watched the movie. Well, I didn't read all the books. I didn't even know that Life and Death existed, and now also Midnight Sun is coming out. Although I do have a distinct memory. Start the video and I'm already going off on a tangent. I remember at the start of, after I read the series, I then found the little excerpt that Stephanie Meyer put on a website or something that had just the bit that got leaked, I think. Anyway, I know her thing got leaked and she got upset about it, and that's why the book never released, but now it's, 10 years? About 10 years later it's now coming out. Beside the point. So because of Midnight Sun's release coming up, and because I was in love with this series and this world as a teenager, which, 5 years ago I would have denied and made fun of it, but now being 22, I can kind of just be like, yeah, I did enjoy it, and I thought I'd reread it. And my god, were there some problems that I never realised, and they bother me. And from my memory, this is really embarrassing to admit, when I was a bit younger, there was elements of Bella that I think subconsciously tried to implement, because I used to move around a lot when I was younger, so I'd always be the new girl like Bella was, and just, I think it's important to talk about the problems that are in this series, or each problem the books are providing. So far, Twilight's been the worst for it. There's just something very specific about New Moon that I don't like, which I'll talk about in a second. But I think it's important to point it out, and this book was released 2006, so this book is 14 years old, the very first one, and obviously times have changed, and our understanding of what's okay and what's not okay has changed a lot. But there's just, I think I just need to, I guess I don't need to, I don't feel I have to, but I want to point out kind of things that I found wrong with this book, things that just didn't sit well with me, and things that are kind of just, I think, said about without much thought. So, with that kind of long-winded intro, I'm going to start off with my problems with Twilight. And I have a list, because as I was reading it. Oh, and of course my dad calls me. And I'm back. Perfect timing to get a phone call. So, Twilight. Starting off, I think, with pages, because I've got receipts. Apart from some of the comparisons, mostly just Bella being called albino because she's pale. It was a bit weird, but not the worst. What kind of bugged me specifically is from page 104 to 108. If you want to have a look, if you have a copy just lying about, is how Bella is manipulating Jake to get information about, spoilers, because I'm talking specific spoilers for Twilight if you care. So what I really didn't like was how Bella manipulated Jake into getting information about the Cullens, and basically trying to get the info that he's a vampire. Edward, not Jacob. And it wouldn't be so bad, I think, if the ages were different. However, this is a 17-year-old girl manipulating and flirting with a 15-year-old boy. And I don't know about you guys, but the kind of mentality a 15-year-old has compared to a 17-year-old, granted it's 2 years, but it's a lot of development in your brain, in your outlook, happens within those ages. So, and it's kind of a repeated issue for me, is that how the relationship between Bella and Jacob and the age bugs me so much, and just how she manipulates him just really puts a bad taste in my mouth. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And my next, yes, good old page 220, where I don't know if it's meant to be a tongue-in-cheek kind of joke, where the line, I'll read you the line. Besides, since I'd come to Forks, it really seemed like my life was about him. This is Bella talking about Edward. Now, my issue is that with how much Bella's life gets wrapped around Edward in the book, because that's the point of the book, it just the fact that it shouldn't be encouraged, or the idea shouldn't be encouraged about someone's life becoming enveloped around their partner. The codependency is throughout so far the series that I've been reading that Bella has towards Edward. It's just incredibly unhealthy, and I really don't think it should be encouraged. I've had a bit of a discussion with it on the Discord group, with Murphy's Discord group, and people saying, oh, it's fiction, it's not meant to be taken literally. But when I was reading this, when I was that age, again, like 12, 13, I didn't see a problem with it. And reading it now, the codependency in this book is so forefront, and maybe again that's because of how the book's aged and just hasn't aged very well, but it's a problem I find in the book, and that's why it's kind of, I'm talking about it. In fact, just a note, so I don't have to say this after every point, but if you have any points that you want to talk about in the comments, really love to hear about them, your thoughts, if you've read it, if you're rereading it like I am because of the new book. Yeah, I've kind of put a bit more of a general note, but with one specific kind of point where it happens again throughout the books, but specifically in this book, the references to Bella being depressed because she's moved to Forks of her own free will, that she wasn't forced to do, and actively has been, her mother tried to say, you don't have to do this, you don't have to go, but she said, no, I want to, even though it's been a lie, and she's complained about it ever since. For reasons that, I think are very weak personally, but just the general way, the description of how it's making light of, for me, very important, mental issues. I again, puts a bad taste in my mouth. It just seems a very throwaway comment, which I don't think, this specific statement is what really kind of just, so it's a line Edward says to Bella, are you so depressed by Forks that it's made you suicidal, he demanded when I ignored him. And it just, again, it's the bad taste. It doesn't sit right with me, the light-hearted way this book talks about depression and, suicide, just general mental disorders. And I really want to know other people's, if is it just me with kind of these lines that are make me uncomfortable, I guess, to read when I've noticed it. It's just I didn't notice it as a kid. The things that I find problematic about this book now didn't bother me back then, and I think that is why it's problematic to me. Because maybe it's just because of the fact that I'm 22, I'm an adult looking at this book that's written for teenagers. Although I don't think I'm that old. Am I looking at this book over critically, but I just don't think it's aged well very much. And yeah, moving on to just another thing that I found incredibly creepy, but when I was a teenager I thought, oh, he loves her so much, was with page 256, where I know this is kind of like, I think, a joke on the internet, like it's in the movies, which is when people talk about most, the fact that he watches her when she sleeps and that he's been stalking her, just, it's very creepy. It's because he's so infatuated with her, but it's not. It's warning bells. It's everything wrong with kind of their relationship. I guess it's I just think their relationship as a whole is incredibly unhealthy. Again, throughout the series, specifically in this book, with him stalking and watching her when she sleeps without her knowing. I guess my least, page 275 is my least serious gripe with the book, is just when they start saying I love you to each other after 2 weeks of it's about 2 weeks of knowing each other and they're already coming up with the I love yous. I'm not saying people can't be in love with that short time, but for me it's too much love at first sight. The infatuation, although I guess it's just not a fan. So that's kind of what I found wrong with this book. To end this book on a positive note, something that did make me laugh, just at the end, or not at the end, I guess it's not the last third of the book, it was like breakfast time and clutch the throat. It's okay, I'm just going to read it. It's breakfast time, he said evenly, casually, to prove I'm sure that he remembered all my human frailties. So I clutched my throat with both hands, stared at him with wide eyes, shock across his face. Kidding, I snickered. And you said I couldn't act. That is kind of the most funny thing she does in the entire book. It shows that she's not completely... I don't know, her personality in this book, she annoys me. I think she annoys a lot of people. But you know, that part did make me laugh, and I thought I'd end on a positive note with Bella is not completely awful. Completely stupid, I suppose, is more than awful. But she can actually make me laugh. Now, part 2 of this video, New Moon. This book, my main gripe, as I've said with the first book, is the age difference and the maturity difference between Bella and Jake. Kicking off again with the jokes about mental health on page 98. Jess and Bella go to Port Angeles. I'm probably not saying that right, but I'm sorry. And she said, are you crazy? Are you suicidal? Again, it's the later comment in the same page. It wasn't like I was taking a blade to my wrist. Just all these comments make me uncomfortable. I don't think they're meant to in this way. It's meant to be describing her actions, and yet honestly just the flippancy of the comments make me just, the bad taste returns. Again, the 16-year-old and 18-year-old, granted now, if for my country Jake being 16 would now be legal, but it's still just, again, for me it's the mental maturity of a 16-year-old versus an 18-year-old. I just don't like it. I think it's a bit weird. Page 120, I've also written down here, I've written last paragraph. Yeah. The fact, I think, the manipulation Bella does provide, and it's all summed up in this paragraph, which I will also read to you now. Only a teenage boy would agree to this. Deceiving both our parents while repairing dangerous vehicles, using money meant for my college education. He didn't see anything wrong with that picture. Jacob was a gift from the gods. I just think the entire... Don't get me wrong, I feel bad because I do enjoy the Twilight series. Looking back on it now, a lot of my memories, my younger memories, my teenagers, I really enjoyed the series, and I grew up with it, especially watching the movies come out. As I got older, I still went to watch them because I have a fondness for this series, and I'm not pointing out these things to shit on it and say, hey, this is a terrible series that you shouldn't read. I just think it's important to talk about that maybe some of the things that are written in this series should be thought about better now than maybe it was when it first was published. Because I myself as a teenager, and not to say I was an amazing teenager, but I thought I was a relatively sensible teenager, and I didn't see a problem with these that I now think are glaring. The manipulation, the codependency, and just the weird kind of jokes about mental health. I've also written page 190, but then I haven't written anything else, so I think then it's kind of just the same. But what's on page 190? You know, she knows what she's doing is wrong from this page, you know. He left his arm around me and it was so warm that the cold wind felt good. It was so wrong to encourage Jacob, pure selfishness. Explaining how, you know, she's a vacant house. And then, yet I know I wouldn't send him away regardless. I needed him too much and I was selfish. She knows what the fact that she's encouraging Jacob is wrong. She's also 18 years old, using a 16-year-old. All stuff like that, to me, just adds up as this is weird. Although, when I kind of then just let myself be, you know, I can still enjoy the book for what it is, for the memories I have with it. That's very, I think that's my New Moon rant. Much shorter than the Twilight one. Then again, the time is ticking. So yeah, that's my thoughts on these two books. I'll be doing a second video on this. At the moment I am midway reading through Eclipse. I'll also be reading Britannia and then Breaking Dawn. So that part 2 will be coming out in a couple months. Honestly, I'd really love to know your guys' thoughts down below in the comments, or, you know, message me, whatever you want. You know, do you think these things that I've pointed out are nitpicky? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think I should just, you know, enjoy the book for what it is? Let me know. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a good day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. I hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are staying safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.